We've had our fair share of talking about greedy, slimy, or just downright stupid corpos on this channel, but I think today's situation really takes the cake because this isn't just some small situation where it affects a small group of people. If you basically use the internet at all, this affects you. And getting straight into it, recently there's been an organization known as Collective Shout basically just going around and bullying payment processors into completely removing whatever content they personally see as unfit for sale because of certain themes that they don't really like. And to pretty much get the ball rolling, they reached for the lowest hanging fruit and started it by having them remove basically any game on Steam that included really any sort of implication of rape or incest. And just off of me saying that alone, since there were two really strong key power words in there, you might automatically be thinking that, oh, that sounds like a good thing, it's removing evil titles from the platform. And if you're someone that thinks that, you've fallen straight into their trap. And really the only people that are behind their ideas and agree with them in really any capacity at all just either have the lowest IQ ever or you actively have parasites eating away at your brain. You have to truly be stupid to think that, oh, it's not censorship if they're taking away something that I don't like. It's not like they'd ever go for anything else other than what I deem as evil anyway, because obviously, of course they will. As soon as they see that it works for one thing, that pretty much just opens the floodgates for them to target everything else. And if you think I'm just talking out of my ass for some reason, we're already seeing examples of this happening. Literally just yesterday, Collective Shout went after a site known as itch.io and had them remove every single NSFW adult title on their site, which immediately takes anyone's argument of, oh, they're only gonna target evil things like rape and incest, and throws it right out of the window. They also posted an update saying, we have de-indexed all adult NSFW content from our browse and search pages. We understand this action is sudden and disruptive, and we're truly sorry for the frustration and confusion caused by this change. Recently, we came under scrutiny from our payment processors regarding the nature of some content hosted on itch.io. Due to a game titled No Mercy, which was temporarily available on itch.io before being banned back in April, the organization Collective Shout launched a campaign against Steam and itch.io, directing its concerns to our payment processors about the nature of certain content found on both platforms. So basically, if you weren't listening too much there or you just didn't catch most of that, it's basically just saying that Collective Shout somehow has these payment processors in an absolute chokehold where they can pretty much just get them to do whatever they want whenever they say so. And even though Collective Shout somehow does have all this power over these huge corporations, it's still a common misconception for people to get the idea that this is 100% Collective Shout's fault, which it definitely is partly them, but you have to really attack it from the source, because even if Collective Shout were to completely shut down today, that wouldn't stop anything at all. If they shut down, another company starts up a week later and does the exact same thing. The people that are really at fault here is really 100% the payment processors. The people that really, in essence, are personally deciding what you can and can't spend your own money on, regardless of the laws or terms of service on each of these individual sites. Because you also might be thinking that a lot of this content goes against some sort of law or against these sites' own terms of services, but they don't. None of these games breach any sort of laws whatsoever of content that you can have in really any media, including games, nor did they go against any of Steam's or itch.io's terms of services, or else they probably wouldn't have been on the site to begin with. So it pretty much boils down to these payment processors are so powerful and have really such a monopoly on the market that right now they're basically just controlling the law themselves. And really, imagine any other service or company doing that. Imagine your electricity getting shut off because they don't like an appliance that you're using, not because it breaks any sort of law, but because another company told them that they shouldn't like it. So your electricity's just off now. And just right quick, before we move on to more examples of them targeting broader things, things, I just want to snuff out the last possible argument that not as many people, but a few people still have, that they're only really doing this in the best interest of the people and they're trying to protect them. Which, to that, if you're someone that believes that and watching this video, I don't want to be rude or anything, but just leave. That's literally the dumbest thing to believe ever. When has basically any megacorp ever cared about anything that doesn't have a dollar sign in front of it? Of course, they'll always only do whatever's the most profitable, and sometimes they'll love to use the cover-up of, we're doing this to protect either women or children. And right quick, one really last thing that I almost forgot, just for the people who aren't quite catching on and maybe taking this information in the wrong way, I have absolutely no problem with them stopping the payment or doing whatever they can to restrict content that is just straight up illegal. Content that breaks some sort of law, I'm completely fine with them restricting that. More power to them. If it's illegal, you obviously shouldn't be able to purchase it. That makes sense. But when it's just simply a form of media that has no victims and it's not illegal in any sort of way, even if I personally, even myself, don't really care about any of these games or anything like that, and I'm just never gonna play them, they still shouldn't be easily taken down like this. But moving on, we're now gonna be diving into this article of them also attempting to attack games like GTA 5 and Detroit Become Human for just some of the most outrageous reasons ever, and I can't find the article. I believe it got taken down by them, so not only do they have power to just take games down, but they also have the power to take down articles that don't necessarily shine them in the best light. So we're just going to be taking a look at this clip of Moist Critical reading it because I just can't find it.
In other words, it seems virtually impossible for Steam to host any adult games depicting child abuse. Rather, Collective Shout may be targeting popular video games that depict children in scenarios where they face distress or harm, even if these depictions are intended to encourage concern and care in the player. From there, the organization may be describing these titles as featuring child abuse. In 2018, Collective Shout encouraged its supporters to sign a petition to ban Detroit Become Human for sale in Australia, claiming the game features child abuse and violence against women. The petition focused on an abusive father's violent behavior towards his housekeeper and daughter in the game. This dynamic, core to the character Kara's story arc, is intended to encourage empathy for the abused woman and child. While it's unclear whether Collective Shout is actively targeting Detroit Become Human in 2025, the removal of such a game would be akin to artistic censorship of material discussing misogynistic abuse against female family members. Targeting the game, in other words, could be considered anti-feminist in intent. That doesn't really make any sense. In 2014, the organization called on Target to remove Grand Theft Auto 5 from store shelves, sharing a petition that claims the game encourages players to commit sexual violence and kill women. Collective Shout described GTA as if it were a misogynistic funhouse, stating the game lets players enact their fantasies of committing extreme violence against women, including punching women to the point of unconsciousness, killing them with a bat, gun, or machete, running them down with a car, and setting them on fire as they continue screaming.
Now, after reading / listening to something like that, I almost don't even know what to say. Not because there's nothing to be said on it, but just hearing that alone can reduce your brain activity. Let's just say that they were successful with everything they wanted in this article in like an evil parallel universe. That basically mean that just women and children pretty much just wouldn't be allowed in games at all unless they're just some sort of NPC that you can only have super basic conversations with and not interact with in any other way, because they're not allowed to face any sort of hardships or really even discuss any sort of mentally challenging idea. This also isn't even to go to mention that they're saying all these things in these games as if, one, that can't happen to the male characters as well, and two, as if they're just going out of their way to almost force you to commit these acts. Like when you load up GTA, it just says run down as many women as possible. Like, that's not actually a quest in the game, little did you know. Top 10 things that never happened. And if you also somehow can't imagine any games that this would affect other than like the ones they just mentioned, GTA and Detroit Become Human, I'm just gonna let you in on a little secret that it'd basically be almost any game ever that involves women or children. Even games like, imagine Tomb Raider. She goes through much more than anyone in almost any other game. She dies in like the most vicious ways possible. That would have just never happened. Games like God of War would have never happened. And almost any other game that you can think of, unless it's like the most family-friendly game ever. But you can honestly even try and phrase those in some sort of way of hardship. Like if you have a woman in Wii Fit and then she's losing the game, I don't know, that's a mental hardship. She kind of had to go through the struggle of losing. And God forbid she tries to queue up for Wii Boxing. It's over. Take the games off the shelves, wrap it up, it's done. But anytime I make a video like this, I try to not end the videos without including at least some sort of possible solution, and really the only solution here is to just regulate these payment processing companies to where they don't really have as much power to pretty much completely control what you can and can't buy regardless of law. And if you're someone that's immediately thinking like, oh my god, here comes more regulation, just sit back and think for a second about really anything in your life. You could just look around in your room right now at anything and just think, is it regulated or is it not? Because 9.9 times out of 10, it will be. Literally the fan that I'm looking at in my room is heavily regulated. They're regulated on how much power they consume, how much RPM the motor can spin at, and a million other regulations for even something just as simple as a fan. But you have companies like these payment processors roaming around pretty much free to do whatever they want. But that pretty much wraps this video up, and really the only goal of it was to just get more attention to this situation, because the more eyes on it and the more people against it, the better. Because like I keep saying, even though it might not seem that bad to some people today, it's the implications behind it and how much worse it potentially and really will get. If there's room to get worse, it's gonna get worse. Just because it's gaming and mainly games right now doesn't mean that it can't possibly stretch into pretty much every other form of media, whether that be music, movies, books, whatever it is. If they find out that it can work in one category, there's a high chance that they're gonna try to branch it out into everything else. And no matter what, when it comes down to it, it should literally be as simple as, is it illegal? No, then it's fine to be on the market, regardless of whether it hurts your feelings or aligns with your personal beliefs or not. But that's pretty much it on this video. If there's any major updates that come out on this situation, I'll make sure to drop another video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.